Didn't you hear, guys? The world is about to end for the billionth time. Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about the new end-of-the-world disaster type film, Moonfall. It was directed by Roland Emmerich and stars Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, Michael Peña, and a bunch of others. And it basically follows the story of the moon hitting Earth and these scientists going up there and trying to stop it. But there's more at stake than just the moon. There's more to it than that. Whenever this movie was announced, I knew for a fact who was going to be behind the camera because Roland Emmerich, he's the master of this genre. Now, granted, the last disaster movie that we got, which was Geostorm starring Gerard Butler, he didn't necessarily direct that, but he had a hand in it. His writing partner, I forget what his name is, actually directed that one. But whenever this film, Moonfall, was being announced, as soon as the trailer started, I called it right then and there. Whenever his name popped up on the screen, I was like, yep, that's Roland Emmerich. Does Moonfall live up to the expectations of most or mine? Let's find out. Getting to the positives of Moonfall, and what can I say? Roland Emmerich, this is a Roland Emmerich film. He does disastrous type films. Not that I'm saying that he's mastered the genre, but he's pretty much like 75% mastered it. And I know Michael Bay's done several types of movies like that, like Armageddon, where he does his own directing style. But Roland Emmerich has come out with so many disastrous type films, you might as well go ahead and say that he's the master of this genre. Day After Tomorrow, 2012, the Independence Day films, Shall I Go On? So with Moonfall, I wasn't surprised at all whenever I found out he was taking on this project. And he did a really well job. I've got some issues that I'll mention later, but most notably the cast. Patrick Wilson plays one of the main characters. He was fired from NASA 11 years prior to the events of when the movie actually starts over this thing that just attacks him up in space. They were working on some space shuttle, and this thing attacks him. He loses his best friend, and then 11 years passes. You find out that he tried to explain to NASA what it was, and of course, who's going to believe somebody that says that this alien force or whatever it was, I'm trying not to give too much away, who's going to believe somebody who says something like that attacks him? As years pass by, you get a good character development, and then Halle Berry plays his partner that was in on him at that mission at the beginning. And when all this other stuff starts stirring up again, which is 11 years later, they start to reconnect. But there's a nice, build up. There's a nice character build up. The story, it was an interesting concept. The moon just decides to crash into Earth. I think I heard that that's one of the 1,000 ways that this world could actually end, was the moon actually crashing into Earth. Scientifically and logically impossible, but still, it was an interesting concept. And there's one character in here, Casey. He's kind of like the comedy relief. He was the source for NASA that found out all this stuff. He's like one of those nerdy types that nobody listens to. And then like years later, he drums up all the evidence and saying this cataclysmic event is going to happen. Of course, nobody believes him until the last second. I mean, we've seen all that done many times before. But the way he played this character off was pretty funny. Like I said, he gave it more of a comic relief than anything else. I've always been a fan of the end-of-the-world disastrous type genre. Like The Day After Tomorrow, 2012, the Independence Day films. That's always stuck out to me because it's something that maybe could happen, but in a lot of these movies, scientifically impossible that'll ever happen. So it's nice to wonder, but at the same time, it really scares you because what if something like that could happen? There's like millions of stuff that happens in space every day, but because of our atmosphere and the ozone layer, it stops a lot of it. Like comets and stars and dust particles and all that stuff. That's basically what these movies tries to tell, tries to give out. It's like, what if one of them actually crash lands and becomes a meteor and then wipes us all out? I don't know. You never know. I'm not trying to sound like a conspiracist, but that's what these movies pretty much sends out. Like, what if? The big fat what if. Going into Moonfall, I wasn't expecting anything that I've already seen before. And I was pretty much right. The character development was done pretty well. Like I said, Patrick Wilson, Halle Berry, maybe even Michael Peña, even though he didn't show up as much because he's like a big time comedy actor in like other movies. But like even him, all these actors played these characters off pretty well. Now, like I said, there's a good character build up, but there's a false with that. And here goes into the mixed. The build up was good. I can get behind, knowing all the characters because that's what you need in the movie to care for the characters. But the way that it was executed, it was a little slow. There's definitely a pacing issue here. It's not like the other Roland Emmerich movies like 2012 to where you get good character build up, but there's like more action sequences to build the tension up and to break the mold, the ice. In Moonfall, you don't really get that much. It does drag on in like the first act until you get to the second act. And that's where the tension really builds up. That's where the movie actually starts in terms of action. But there is a little bit of a slow pacing issue, but because of the character development, it did get me into caring for the characters as the film went on. And like I said, this wasn't an average Roland Emmerich film. It did kind of feel different. So here's sliding into the negatives. When the action sequences started, a lot of the special effects didn't really do that much for me. At first, it looked pretty cool. But within 5 minutes of an action sequence, it did look a little cartoonish. And I'm noticing that, like with a lot of Lionsgate films, Lionsgate action films, which is who released this, what company released this, was Lionsgate. A lot of their films, if it's action, they always make their special effects look cartoonish. Now, I'm not saying all of them are like that. The Expendables is a definite exception. But like with Hitman's Bodyguard, Angel Has Fallen, or Hellboy, they always make their special effects look a little bit too early 2000-ish. And that was one of the main problems I had with this film, setting aside the pacing issue. And without giving too much away, they did throw in a little bit of a Terminator side plot. When you get to find out everything by the third act, what this thing is, what's causing the moon to act like this, it does send out a Terminator vibe. I'm just going to go ahead and say spoiler alert, just in case, because I don't want to be an asshole about it, but they throw out this whole thing where AI takes over this civilization and kills everybody. The civilization builds this AI, this artificial intelligence, that turns against them and kills them. That just sounds awfully familiar. Just like Terminator, just like with Skynet. I didn't really care for that. It's like it was ripping off the Terminator. I could have dealt without that. It was a plausible enough reason as to why everything was going to hell in the first place. But they could have thought of something else. To me, that was kind of a little bit of lazy writing. And that's why, to me, it just didn't really feel like an average Roland Emmerich movie. I mean, yeah, it involved the moon crash landing to Earth, and life as we know it is all in danger. The entire world is at stake. That's Roland Emmerich's style. But with Moonfall, I don't know, it just felt different because of those flaws. I mean, this is not a perfect movie, but it's still enjoyable enough. And it's more dumb fun than anything else. And I guess you could call it a guilty pleasure. Just a guilty pleasure that you could just go with your friends and family and just have a good time at and turn your brain off and just not worry about anything of the real world. Yes, it's definitely something like that. This definitely didn't really feel like your basic everyday Roland Emmerich, like Independence Day, 2012, Day After Tomorrow, and so on. It does kind of veer away because of the pacing issues and because of the special effects. It does kind of feel a little lowered and a little watered down. But as I stated before, you'll still have a good time. There's still some moments to be had in Moonfall that you can just go with your friends or family and just enjoy for a little over 2 hours. So if you're a fan of Roland Emmerich and his end-of-the-world disaster genre, go out with friends and family and you'll have a good enough time. Just contain your expectations a little bit with pacing and the special effects just a tad, and call it a happy accident. So Moonfall, have you seen it yet? What did you think of it? Was this the best you've ever seen? Did you like the story, the concept of the moon crash landing to Earth? Was this the best you've ever seen, or was this not your favorite Roland Emmerich film? Have you seen better? Was this the weakest? Leave me a comment down below as usual and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. The big freaking 4. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.